Because whenever it comes to Loftus, here's the gents. So we'll start with you, and from you we'll go Carl. Thank you.
Jake, what of a scrappy one? Conditions difficult. What do you take out of it in terms of where you feel the Bulls lost the game?
It was easy. I mean, the first half, our line-out was a bit shoddy, and then we never won any aerial contest the whole game. Every time there was an up and under, both sides, we probably were less efficient than the Stormers. And they, it's easy to make excuses. I mean, it's just one of those things. Every time there was a ball up in the air, and they kicked really well, put us under pressure. I mean, that try that came, I want to give you a rundown of what happened, but they isolated Sebastian. We knocked it on. He pulled a vet on the foot, on the fly, went forward, and Similani used football skills to go and score against us. So we probably never got the ball bouncing. It happens sometimes. The ball didn't really bounce into our hands or whatever. And when it did, I think 2 or 3 times we won it, we knocked it on the next sort of pickup. So Marco knocked it on once, I think, and there was another time we kicked in the second half. We kicked it as well, and I think Ruan from Mark knocked it on. So it's one of those things where sort of said to the players, it's sometimes conditions didn't make it easy, but we probably made it hard for ourselves.
So would you say you managed to lose this time, or were you beaten?
Yeah, I mean, I just think Stormers were good, eh? Stormers, they kick well. That try that they scored, Warwick contested really well. And that's their game. That's the thing that frustrates everybody. And I'm saying when we sit here is we know that they kick up and unders. We know that they live off whatever comes, off that up and under. And they did it, 9 out of 10 times today, they did it as well as they could have. So it's something we're going to have to. It's just it became difficult in those conditions, and obviously, I look at the team, and we could have drawn that game at the end. We decided to go for touch. Who knows? Maybe we kick a long range penalty. We had a chance also earlier on where we could have taken the draw and we kicked for the touchline. So yeah, I just sort of said to myself, we were not. One of the permutations of not playing today would have been 2 points each, and we wanted to try and win the game. We wanted to try and win the conference. So it's quite ironic because it could have still ended up in a draw, and in hindsight, it probably would have suited us because we wouldn't have had 3 injuries. So it just shows you it would have been 2 points without injuries. Now it's obviously one of those tough things because you lose, and that's the other thing, Cole, that I think it is what it is you lose Kanan in 4th minute, and he's probably the best under the high ball for us in our team. We lose Kubus Visa, and we lose Marku within 47 minutes. I mean, there's not, that comes with a break in rhythm and a break in cohesion, so I thought we did really well to come back and take the lead after 60 odd minutes. But we just couldn't win the aerial battle, and we couldn't, as I said, get our line out going in the beginning.
Where to next? 2 weeks ago, we sat here and we said it's not going to define your season, the last 2 days.
Still not, Cole. So where to next? Very simple. I think we're 3rd on the log. I think we got points in the bag when we were away from home, and that's always important. We just got to, regroup now. Got some really tough games coming up. So it's not. I really want you to understand, it's not doom and gloom. We need to get to the quarterfinals, have our best team on the field, and play as well as we can. And, win that quarterfinal, win the semi-final, and then get to the final and hopefully win the final. So it isn't like now because we lose to the Stormers. I mean, the Stormers think that this is the first game they've won in 5 in a row, I think. So, what I meant is we're in a much better place than any of the other teams at this stage. So I'm not going to sit here and say to you what happens now. What happens now is we have 2 weeks off with no games. We regroup, and then we've got a couple of more home games before we head on our EPCR tour. So I'm just, as I said, just wait for all the medical assessments to come through tomorrow, and then some of the boys are obviously going to that Springbok alignment camp 2 weeks' time, and then when they get back, we'll just start regrouping for Leinster and Zebra. That are the next 2 big challenges for us.
Thanks, Jonathan.
That's
Jake, you just mentioned the early injuries, and I mean, it's wet conditions. The guys must have been dead on their feet by the end, and they were able to bring on their replacements quite late in the game.
yeah.
It must have affected you think that.
It must have. I mean, and it did. I mean, to be fair, they could hold back because we couldn't really hold back because by 40 odd minutes, basically 2 forwards were gone. And I sort of sat today thinking, should we have gone 6-2 bench? And tactically, while we were warming up, the game was delayed. Should we try and change and say one of our backs has got injured in the warm up? But the reality was, it just as it so happened that is Kanan went off in 4 minutes, so we needed a 5-3 bench. And I'm not for 1 minute saying I was going to cheat, MV. I'm just saying it was going through my head on the basis that was a 6-2 that they had better than a 5-3 in those conditions. And that I want to tell you something that I thought about today, which I'm sure you journalists will enjoy. I'm always amazed why you can't do that in rugby. In every other sport you can do that. Why, when it's delayed for an hour and a half and it's pelting down with rain? Why is the lawmakers? We've changed so many laws and we made the game so much better. Why haven't we got a law where a coach can, in the warm up, go, you know what? Things have changed so much. Let's go 6-2, or let's start with another prop, or let's. So it was quite an interesting thing sitting in that change room for an hour and a half there, thinking, I wonder why the lawmakers don't allow you to actually change your original team, in the warm up. I would think, because it's unfair on the home and away teams, because you've got your whole squad here, and the other team that's flowing here has only got X amount of guys. So I would think that's probably why they don't allow you to do it.
And you mentioned, you should have taken the draw, because if the game didn't go ahead, you would have had to share the points.
Yes,
there was no chance of maybe rescheduling it, or
no. There was a chance to play tomorrow. Remember, the Dragons and the Lions had to postpone in Wales because of that inclement weather. So I'm not for one minute saying that we take the 2 and we get out of there. We would have played tomorrow. But, when people are talking about what is the permutation, what happens if the game doesn't take place, you would have taken 2 and 2 and, but then I don't think we would have been brave. And I'm saying I would have liked to have known that we've given ourselves a chance to win the conference, to get a couple of more points ahead of the Sharks. And that obviously didn't materialize. But credit to the Stormers. I mean, I've said this many times, but they're a tough team to beat. They're a tough team to beat. And they're very good at what they did tonight, and they're very good at doing that in games, because that's how they've probably beaten us a lot of times, because of the return they've got from the way they kicked.
Just one last question. Evan Roos was sort of immense tonight. Did you miss Cameron and Elrich, for example? You always say you do, but specifically tonight, it would have made a big difference.
I mean, if you remember last time we played them in Cape Town, Marcel played and Elrich played, and we saw how important they were to us as well. So, and Cameron, that was our back row. So all 3 didn't play tonight. But it's important, MV. I mean, I'm never going to use team sheets and injuries as an excuse. It's a long, long tournament. And again, I think 3 guys out tonight again. 1 with concussion, 2 guys, 1 with a hammy and 1 with a calf. When you do your sums, if you lose, and I've told you this before, if you lose 2.5 players a week, which means 1 back for concussion, 1 with a 6-week injury, and maybe 1 with a 2-month injury or 3-month injury, sometimes it happens. You do your sums. By the time you get to week 15, 16, if you're losing 2.5 a week, it's highly unlikely you're going to get the same group, and it's going to come at a cost where you're going to have to back your depth.
Because Jake, just on, you mentioned earlier, in terms of the game plan that you guys used tonight, you kicked a lot, which wasn't a good return. The lineouts was a bit messy in the beginning. I mean, who makes the changes to step up as a captain or a leader in the side to say, guys, we maybe need to go into the line-out set and take the front ball, maybe kick into the corners, because there was a lot of space at the backfield. So why didn't you guys adapt when you guys saw that those things weren't working? Because there was enough time in the first half to maybe change, not the game plan, but Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on the decision makers that was playing tonight, especially the senior guys, if they stepped up to what they really need
I
to
mean,
do.
Ronaldo, if I'm really critical of it's me, because when the Sharks lost today to the Lions, we just needed a win. And all the other games we've played, if we had got the same penalties early on in the game, we would have gone to the corner. And, in hindsight, and I'm always saying we went, 3-6, 3-all, 6-all, 9. Maybe we should have been brave in the first half and put them under the pressure, in the corners. But, that's easier said when you look back at the game. At 65 or odd minutes when we were leading because of that try, then everything would have almost been the way we would have planned it. So it's not a case of now the captain we've got Willie, Nazam, Ludwig, and David Creel to come together every time and go, what do you think? Should we go for it? Should we go to the corner? And I've got to trust them too. I can't, otherwise if I sit on the roof and I put up an orange light or a green light, then I'm not really being fair to them.
Yeah, and then just on the injuries, obviously you guys have 2 weeks break now, which is going to help a bit. But are things starting to become a bit of a headache now with so many guys getting injured every week? Are we getting guys back in the next 2-3 weeks?
It's not now becoming a headache. It's something that I've been banging on for from the whole season. Is unfortunately it's the nature of what we're doing. We're playing rugby 12 months of the year. Guys are going from test matches into URC, into EPCR, into Currie Cup. And it comes at a cost. There's no ways. Old days, there's no sports science that tells you that rugby players should play 12 months of the year. But that's the hand we've been given, And so, but we're gonna have to adapt. Every team is going to have to find a way in which they increase their depth. That they, that recruiting is going to be where we can have maybe 2 in each position. So I just because I know you're going to ask me, but you get Pollard and Goos and two 10s, and that's what you need in these tough competitions, because you need, if one guy's not playing, you need the other Springbok to come and play while he's injured, because at this point in time, it's no one's fault. The difference between where we could be and where we are is massive. Said to someone before the game, Jan Hendrik is early 20s, tight forward. Ludwig is early 20s, tight forward. Jeff van Heeren, early 20s, tight forward. That was unheard of at Northern Transvaal 30 years ago. Unheard of. Maybe Nasbota, Ignatius, maybe at 20 or 19 playing at 10. But it was unheard of to have 3 guys in the tight 5 playing for Northern Transvaal. Now that just was the way it was. We've got to do what we can do with those guys, and they will become better. But it is something that people need to be realistic about. As I said to you in the guy yesterday, Ronaldo, the 20-year-old lock got picked as a tight forward in the Northern Transvaal team 30 years ago. Probably would have been headline news on the front page of the newspaper. So, and they will grow, they'll get better. And I stress again, I'm not for 1 minute doom and gloom. I'm disappointed because we had a chance there again, and the conditions, and we probably shot ourselves in the foot. We can't blame anybody. It is what it is, and we just got to get better. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's him to wrap it up.
Jake, when you've got to hurry up and wait, sort of build up to a game where there's options that might be played late, or might be played tomorrow.
Yeah.
How do you keep the guys on?
Probably easier for us, and I'll tell you why. Because we've got our own change room, and it's a bit more luxurious than the visitors' change room. So I generally thought that because we could show videos or sit in our change room, and probably would have helped us not having to sit in a small change room, and so I think it's the same for both. But I generally thought that we would probably be in a better space going out later with what we had at our disposal, and that's probably why we're disappointed, because it was quite ironic, because that's the first time we've been down against the Stormers early on. It was first kick-off 3-0 down. All the other games we've basically been leading after about 5-6 minutes. Scored in the final against them a couple of years back. Scored within 4 minutes the last time we played them in Cape Town. So it was one of those, I suppose, not strange, but very different games to what we've been used to with the Stormers. It was the first time they've been in the lead, and then, as I said, then we had to play catch up, which, who knows, maybe, and I say this as from me, maybe we should have been brave in the beginning and kicked in the corner. And then what happens, MV, it's interesting because then your lineup probably becomes better too, because you throw in more times and they probably don't compete on their try line. So you get a lot of confidence because they don't get up in the air because they're scared about the maul. So it's like one of those things, you kick in the corner and they don't go up in the air, you win it, you put them under pressure, which is what we've been doing in the last couple of games. Now we go 3-3 6 all, So in hindsight, again, and that's me talking to you as the guy that would assess that. Maybe we got to be brave when we play against anybody, because we've managed to manage those things really well in the last couple of years.
Jake, just looking at when Marco got injured, you replaced him with Ryan instead of maybe most people would have gone with Bilo to balance out the loose trio with maybe Nizam at that open side. What was the thinking there? Was it sort of heavier bodies for the conditions? And did the fact that Quibus coming off in 5 minutes into the second half, did that disrupt anything?
So it's interesting because you know what happened there? The easiest thing would have been is just to put Mpilo to 8 and move Nizam to 6. And I thought, you know what, we're struggling in the lineup and it's so wet underfoot that if I pick the heavier pack for the longer part of the game and I put 3 locks on, then maybe that would be the catalyst for us to change the dynamic of our lineup. That doesn't for 1 minute say that, but Mpilo's not a lock. So having 3 locks there, I thought might help the caller and might help the thrower just to get a little bit more rhythm. It's quite interesting because he was in the loo. and that's why, I thought I can't put a guy on the field because the other guy's in the toilet. And that's also never happened to me before. I was not going to tell the ref, hang on, he's in the toilet. So it was one of those, it's crazy.
You've said it last month for me. You've said it before that if you thought like us journalists, you'd be a nervous wreck.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to become a nervous wreck now.
You've obviously got a great record away from home, and over the last few games, it hasn't been that great at home. And you're starting to get a confidence back.
No, because I think we're probably going to have to play away from home in the semis and the finals. So, got to use that in my advantage. That'll probably be in my team talk soon. But this comp's tough, boys. This comp's tough. You must never underestimate these derbies. This is the 4th derby we've played in 4 weeks. So whether you're home or away, whether I think we got 5, 10, 12 points, I think. Is that right? 12 points in the derbies. And that's like 3 wins. Is that right? We got more than 5. No, we got 17 points.
Yeah.
So if you work it out, that's 4 wins. 4 wins and a bonus point out of 6 derbies. And that's not a bad return. There's not many guys that play 6 derbies and get 17 points. So, but I hope I've answered your question, is that we're going to have to get better at home, and that's got nothing to do with whether you're home or away. It's just we've done so well, and we had points in the bag, and we had an opportunity now to jump ahead of everybody, and we let it slip. But my positiveness of where we are is very simple, is that no team that's played at home and won every game at home has won the competition. So, the teams that have travelled last year, Glasgow travelled and won. Munster travelled the year before and won, And the Stormers went overseas at the time before and won. So it just shows you that, that this competition is so tough. You get it wrong home or away, you could lose or win. Lose, and then obviously, or you can get away.
Last one, sorry, Jake. Just on Monday, I'm being unveiled as the face of Supersport Schools Rugby, and on Derby Day Rugby, we are hosting on the 22nd. It's JP and Cares at Cares.
Yeah.
So we are trying to put fire back into schoolboy rugby, and anything from you. So many kids here today. They got prepped. They've been doing their war cries. and the rain, deterred their plans. But I think the whole thing is grassroots, and is dreams from a Kanan to a Tony Chavanga from Zim, and all the names we know well. And I think they're going to watch us live, and everything is grassroots, and anything from a JP master.
Well, JP cares. I mean, the guy scored the winning try today as a JP boy, so it's actually bloody got out of my skin,
The black and white.
So that's the one thing. And I'll tell you something else interesting, Simon, which is really interesting. Bernard Ludwig played as captain of Office in the COVID year, and playing in his first team socks today. Let's not take it for granted. He probably didn't play in his first team socks as many times as any other guys for his school. So this origin thing I think it's fantastic. I think it gives him an opportunity to wear his socks that he probably didn't get to wear as many times as he would have liked in the COVID year. And that's why credit to the people that have put this together. I think we mustn't underestimate how important it is. Maybe that's why the Stormers won as well. It was wet, and 2/3 of their team grew up in the Western Cape, so they're used to that weather.
Lucky Jack. Awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, friends.
Thank you.
Awesome.